Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Sunday Night Live. My name is Kelley Farley. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Auckland, New Zealand. Tonight, normally we do a bit of a fancy fold card or something like that. Hi, Lisa. But tonight we're going to have a look at blender pens and just different ways of using them. So let me just move this back a bit. You don't need to see. It's better. And you don't need that either. So a blender pen is like a marker pen, but it has two brush point ends on it, and both of them have a clear liquid in them, which means that you can use them for colouring or transferring ink. Now, you can't, hi Andrea, you can't use them with the alcohol markers because obviously the alcohol will dry up before you can transfer it, but any of our water-based markers, our water-based markers like our Stampin' Right markers or our classic ink pads will work with them. So I thought what we would do tonight is just have a go, and I'll just show you a couple of different ways that you can use them. And then I thought I would share with you how you can breathe life back into your blender pens, because they don't last forever, but you are able to actually kind of re-moisten them and refill them in a way. Hello, Alison. So yeah, I thought I would share that. It's not something that I've done. I found it on the internet a few years ago and just kind of kept it for my own use, and when my pens dry up a bit from being used in class or sitting for too long, then I can revive them. When you buy them, you get them in a pack of 3. This is an old packaging because they were given to me by my sister. She bought them when I first started doing Stampin' Up! In 2010. So they've been sitting in the cupboard for a while, but they're still relatively moist. So let's get started. So I thought what we'd do first is just do some stamping, and if you're, so the first one, if we use, I've got a dark colour here. I might use a lighter colour actually to start with. Yeah. Those two seem to be my go-to at the moment, is the Starry Sky and the Orchid Oasis. So I'm just going to use the Tahitian Tide. You don't normally get blue hedgehogs, but we're going to give that one a go. So we're just going to stamp as normal and then stamp onto our cardstock, and then just using your, hi Maureen, just using your blender pen. It doesn't matter which end you use, the lid fits on there so you don't lose it. This just helps to pull some ink together so that you can kind of, if you wanted a softer kind of less harsh look. Now I don't know how well you're going to see this on camera. Let me see if I can enlarge that a bit. I don't know if you can see that. Thumbs up, that means that maybe that's a better view. Hi Angela. Alright, now I just have to make sure that I'm still in camera view so that I can see it. So I'm just grabbing the ink. What it's doing is it's just grabbing the ink and just bleeding it a little bit. And this isn't a hugely wet brush, but now if you're doing lots of this, I'd recommend that you used I've stamped on the thick white, but it does, because it's adding moisture, it does kind of get a bit of a pilling kind of thing happening. So use the thick or so you can see how that's kind of just softened the edge of the stamp a bit. It's not so, I'll stamp one right next to it so you can see the difference. So the one underneath hasn't had the blender pen on it, and the top one does. See how it's just sort of faded out the, don't know if that's actually a very good pen. Let's just see. So you can see, I don't know if you can see, but the paper's starting to bulb a little bit, which means that there's a bit of moisture on there. Okay, so there's one way that you can use your blender pens, and that is just to kind of soften that stamped edge a bit, and pull the colours together a bit. Okay, so let me zoom out again so that we can see the whole thing. The next way is to actually colour in with I'm going to use the darker one, yeah, just in my head I've kind of confused myself as to what I'm doing now, but so we've got that one, and then you can, so this is a similar kind of thing, but you can just pull the colour in from the edges like so. So it's a really subtle kind of colouring in. Okay. And then another thing that you can do if you want a darker. Hi Gail, thanks for joining us. It's a little bit harder with these new ink pads, but with the older one, and the older ones are a little bit easier. But if you just push them together, like, and then squeeze through the middle here, just like, you know, you're trying to click it down so that it's closed, you actually get a little pool of ink in the top there. Now, I've forgotten to tell you that to clean your blender pen, you just need to scribble on a piece of scrap paper. Never, ever, 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 ever put your blender pen on the actual pad. The chemicals that are in here will wreck your pad, so that's why we need to put a pool of ink on there. So you can either squeeze your ink pad so that you get so that you get your ink on the lid of or the base of your pad, or if you have the re-inkers, if you don't like sort of squishing your pads, if you have the re-inkers, hi Sylvia, then you can just put a couple of drops onto the inside of your ink pad so that when you close it, it kind of just drips back into the ink pad. If you don't like doing that because it makes your ink pads a little bit messy, grab a block and a re-inker, or stamp it onto your block. I'll get on to show you. So you can grab your re-inker and pop a dot or two on here that you can then use your blender pen to use, or you can stamp it directly onto your block, and then you've got colour that you can pick up there. Now, it will be quite dark to start with, then as the colour gets used, it lightens up. So you can see how it's gradually, I don't know, can you see? It's gradually getting lighter. Like so. Okay. That's not a very good effort of colouring in. And then I can go lighter down here. And I can add colour to the shadow marks on here. Okay. So again, because you've got a water-based ink, you can actually pull the colour from here. Okay, so if we go down the side, I clear this. I've got no ink on here, but alright, I'm going to turn this around. I'm going to keep my ink blender pen just touching that and drag it in, and it brings in the colour. Did we use them to colour after we embossed? Yes, Lisa, we did. Same kind of deal. That's the next one that I'll show you. Same kind of deal though. The embossing just stops the colour from running over through into the next one. So I'll leave that there. So that's just how you can use it to get the colour of the stamp that you've used. So like if you've used a water-based ink, you can then just drag the colour and get a lighter shade through there. And as you can see, my colour is starting to dissipate off my brush. Okay, so I'm just going to clean that, put my lid on. Let's get a Stazon, which I thought I had grabbed, but I haven't. And wipes to clean the stamp. And that, I'm going to take it off because I'm going to quite likely put my hand in that, so I'll take it off and we'll just give this one a clean. Okay. Alright, so Stazon is a solvent ink, so it's a permanent ink and can be used on porous items or non-porous items. So like if you're making, you can stamp on glass, you can stamp on window sheet, you can stamp on ceramics with the Stazon. You just have to be a little bit careful because it takes a few minutes to dry, so it can smudge while you're doing it, but it is perfect for colouring in with water-based objects. So if you are really into colouring, actually, I like to go this way actually. If you're into colouring and you're colouring with water-based ink, then a Stazon is great to have because you do just need to make sure, because it will stain your stamp. So get as much of the ink off it as quickly as you can. I'm just using an alcohol-free wipe, and then I'll go over with my rubber conditioner afterwards, but just get the bulk of it off there like that. So it won't run. So if I was to use my pen over the top of it, it doesn't move the same as the ink does on that one. So this is where you can use your ink as a colouring tool. So if I like to have a bit more of a softer. I think blender pens are great for doing a bit of softer colouring. So I'll pick up my ink, then I'll go over the darker lines, and you can see that this is actually holding the ink really nicely. And get Gosh, the conversation in the lounge is really loud. Hopefully it's not echoing in here. So then I can get a softer, and then I can drag that ink in as well. But you'll see that you'll see that if you don't put too much on there, that you have to keep kind of colouring with it and start back at the darker parts. So a bit, it's a different kind of effect from this one here, from the first one that we did. See how that's kind of bled a little bit now that it's dried, whereas that's got the darker edge around the outside of it. So it's a little bit easier. So if I was to get a really dark bit to her belt, you can see that it's okay, it's not bleeding. And then just when you've got your ink, if you've done some, just get some scrap paper, scribble until it runs clear, and then you're good. You'll notice that it is stained on the top, but it doesn't transfer. Okay, so that is one way. Markers are similar. That's not probably, yeah, let's do this one. Crushed curry. So using, because we've got the, you're also quiet tonight, because we've got the, you can then just bring in, might try too fast, it's really subtle, but if you just bring, go on the edge of it and just pull that in, it's a nice way of colouring. If you haven't got ink pads and you've got the Stampin' Right markers, again, not the what do you call them, blends, because they're alcohol, then you can pick up, if you put it on your block, you don't, or with your markers, you don't tend to get the same depth, so it's a little bit softer. Okay, and the other one that I was going to show you was let's have a pink balustrade. Let's go Cajun Craze. So you can go, these are our watercolor pencils, so you can color in with these, and you can use, excuse me, you can use the what are they called, aqua painters, which have a barrel in them and that you just fill up with water. Oh, thanks, Angela. I don't know that I'm not amazing at colouring, but I have to say these products make it a little bit more forgiving. So I'm not a big fan of watercolouring in that it puts a lot of liquid onto your work. But as you can see, you can kind of see the strokes in the pencils there. If I do that and then just make sure it's clean, get my blender pen and just run over the top of it, you can see that it kind of is dragging out the colour a little bit. So these are watercolour pencils, and they are Stampin' Up! Watercolour pencils. But it just kind of, if you're looking for that effect with the softness of the watercolour, and then just scribble off again to get the excess off. So now I'll lift that up, and so you can hopefully, my phone's gone, you can see that that's not, you can't see all the drawing lines and things in it. I would like to do her dress, but I don't have pencils in that colour. So that's another option. So if you were to use, what's this one? Early espresso. If we just did some early espresso through here and then used our blender pen, not the marker, because we're using Stazon, you can go straight over the top. It's not going to pull that black in at all, but it kind of fills in and softens the strokes through the hair. Okay, so that is that for you, especially in that picture, because yeah, it'll work with those, Lisa. I started with the Faber-Castell watercolor pencils, but I find because they are watercolor, well, I don't know, I think because they're watercolor that they're actually a little bit softer, so you get a little bit more of a nicer coloring with them as well. I think that is all. Oh, one other thing I was going to show you is, thank you, Angela. So sometimes you get stamps that are like this and you're kind of like, oh, I want to change that color. I don't want, I'm just going to take that excess off. Yep. I'll be about 10 minutes. So you might decide that you want to do that in a different color. So what you can do is you can get your blender pen and you can actually use it to remove the ink. Again, you just rub it off. And then, if you have got markers, you can then get your marker pen brush tip, and then you can go just on the side of your markers. This used to be one of my favourite things to do, was multicolour. Just don't do it very often anymore. Need to get back into doing that. So you just run your marker over the top. Now again, this won't work with blends. It will only work with our water-based ink. And then what you need to do is, let me just zoom out a little bit. You just what we call huff on it, because to put a little bit of moisture in there. Obviously, in these times, you don't want to be sharing these with people, but if you're working on your own, you just kind of breathe on it, so that it like, you know, when you're fogging up or cleaning your glasses, and then just pop it straight down, and then you get a two-tone stamp. I think we've possibly done this before, but I'm not 100% sure. So I thought, well, that's sometimes when you use a mask or you use a wipe or a tissue or something to remove it, you can actually go too far into the next part. So blender pens are a nice way of just controlling a small amount that you want to cover. Okay, so the last thing that I was going to show you is how to refill them. So I have got a little bit of, you need a selection of things. The first thing that you do need is distilled water. This I got from Super Cheap Auto, I think it was. Yeah, it's found where the batteries are, because apparently it's good for car batteries. You need some glycerin, which I just got from the chemist a very long time ago. Then you need some isopropyl alcohol. Again, I just got that from the chemist. And a teaspoon, which I'm just going to get. Forgot to grab. Okay, so you need, I'm going to start with the water because it just gives me something to work with. This will last you for ages. This was the smallest one that I could find there. So you need 4 teaspoons. I brought him a good Tupperware as well, so it won't be staying in there, but I'll gives you an idea of 4 teaspoons of distilled water. Now it has to be, that's a good question. This is 100%. So I don't know if it makes a difference, Andrea. But yes, Mitre 10 does it as well. And then you don't need very much of it. So if you could get a small bottle, then that would be even better. So this one is glycerin, which you need 2 teaspoons. I think this is like the carrier kind of thing, the ink thing. I don't know what it does. Yes, there are different strengths, Lisa. Yeah. And this one is 1/4 of a teaspoon, so it's not very much at all. So oops, that's probably too much. And the purpose of the alcohol, the isopropyl alcohol, is to ensure that the moisture dissipates, or evaporates as you're using it. So you just kind of mix it all together. I think it also helps to mix the I just spilt it on the desk. It helps to mix the ingredients together. So you end up with a fair amount. So which means that I can do all of mine. And then all you need is, because I have a container, a stamp size container that's got all my blender pens in. So I've got about 15, I think. So take your lid off. And then just with a pair of tweezers, just soak them. Just put it in so that it's in. So it just soaks up some of that liquid. Just leave them in there for a couple of minutes. Now there is, just like normal felt pens, I can't find any pliers, but if you've got some pliers or a husband who can do it for you, you can actually, I don't know how well you can see this, but this cap here, oh, blurry, there's a ridge here, and this cap actually comes off. So you only need to do it one end, and inside is one of those little foam tubes with the plastic coating on it, which is exactly like any normal felt pen. You can also take them out and soak them in each end in this liquid, just to kind of ice squeeze it and then let it go so it just absorbs some of the liquid, and that'll then pop it back in. Because these nibs actually feed into it, it'll keep them moist longer. So then you just pop them back in, and they will and then I found to just let them sit for a little while, just so that you should lie these flat as well. Don't stand them up, because then you will definitely get one end that dries out faster than the other. So it's really, the last time I did this, I pulled out the whole inside bit. So you just pop them in there. I just leave them for a couple of minutes. These two are out of my packet, so I'll do these, and then I know they're done. And then I can just pop all my other ones in, and then just slide them back in. You could also, if you can't get this off, you could get a little dropper. I mean, that's getting a bit precious. Obviously, they're not going to last forever. The brushes start to kind of get flattened and furry and stuff anyway from use. So your blender pens aren't going to last forever. But so see how it's actually really quickly dissolved and nice to use. So I'll just move that out of the way. And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed all that. I hope that was useful for you. I hope maybe you learned something new, maybe. So there were 6 lovelies that played along last week and shared their card. Thank you very much. I'm just going to flip you up now. Hopefully in the right spot. Yes. So thank you to Sally, Glennis, Jill, Alison, Andrea, and Sandra for playing along and sharing their cards. Thanks, Lisa. Yeah, so if I've missed you and you're watching, please let me know, because I'd hate to miss anybody out. Jill, I still need to get in touch with you. I know that I owe you a gift as well as the one that you've chosen. So I just have to see Heather, which I forgot to do this afternoon when I saw her. You're welcome. Thank you, Maureen, for coming along. All right, so let's see who our lucky prize winner is this week. Thank you very much, ladies, for sharing your amazing creations. They are all stunning. Who we got? Andrea. Yay, congratulations, Andrea. Awesome. I will be in touch shortly to organise a prize for you and to get that sent off. So Heather, I don't think is watching at the moment, but Heather, I will send you some things to choose from. Jill, if you want to have a look at the list of items that I sent you last time, then choose one of those and then let me know. And then Andrea, I will get in touch with you to organise a prize for you as well. Okay, I think that's it. If anyone is interested in a paper share, I have a couple of spots left. $55 plus $55 collecting from me. If you need it shipped, then that's an extra $6. Yeah, so if you're interested, please let me know. It has been ordered, so you know, it won't be too far away that I will have it to cut up and package up and send away. So you won't be waiting too long for it. All right, well, have a lovely... I'm going to turn around. That's not a very pleasant look. Sorry about that, ladies. My hair's a bit, at the moment, with all of the rain, it's all kind of all over the place. So sorry about that. Have a lovely week. I hope that you have, if you've got blender pens, I know that that's something that might not be an item that everyone has, but if you have got them and you're having to play with them, I'd love to see what you create. I'm going to post this little sample thing that we've been working with some notes on it, just to as a reference if anyone would like it. And also if you decide that if you find that you have some blender pens in a little while, you've ordered some or you've got some coming and you want to come back to this, just a reminder that my videos are posted onto YouTube, so you can find them quite quickly and easily if you don't want to scroll through all of Facebook. Yeah, alrighty. Thank you very much for your time, ladies and gentlemen, if there are any gentlemen watching. I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday, and we'll do another fancy fold card. Alrighty, take care. Have a good week.